What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the poker vlog. It is Saturday, May the 18th. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon right now, and you guys know where I am. Do I really need to tell you where I am? You can see where I am, right? You guys know where I'm at. Bellagio, of course. That's Bellagio right there. Jumping into the 2-5 streets. I don't think there's anybody on the waiting list. Looks like there's about 3 tables running right now. So let's go see down. Let's go down and see what the action's like. I will see you all at the tables. We'd been at the table for maybe 30 minutes and we'd already witnessed 3 big $1,000+ all-in pots before we looked down at King Queen of clubs. They did not show down with the best of hands either, so I think we've got ourselves a really good table here, and I raise it up to 20. Ends up folding over to a player in the hijack who puts in the $20 call. Cutoff gets out of the way and the button gets out of the way. The small blind is going to fold here, but she's one of the players who got involved in the last hand and got stacked, so she's buying in, and that's going to slow things down a little bit here. She's trying to get some change and buy in for, I think, 500. But the big blind does put in the call, so once the dealer gets everything sorted out here, we're going to go multi-way to a flop. And let's see if we can connect here, because I think if we can hit anything at this table, top pair is going to be a pretty good hand, because these players are gambling. They're getting it in with any 2 cards. So I think we can certainly get paid if we get ourselves a top pair with a good kicker, or better yet, let's hit a straight or a flush. Dealer, what have you got for us? One time, it's 9-3-4 rainbow. That's not going to do it. So the big blind checks. I decide to check here multi-way. Middle position checks, and we go to a turn card, which is the 6 of hearts. Now the big blind bets 25, and he certainly can have all kinds of stuff on this board because he's just playing every card in the deck. So I just go ahead and fold, but the middle position player does call. The river was a blank, and now the big blind bets 50, and eventually the middle position player just folds. So we lose this first hand, but no worries. There is plenty of action to be had at this table. All right, the table has just gotten crazier and crazier, so my suspicions were true. This is a really, really good game right now. People are just gambling it up and getting it in there with basically any pair. So when I look down at 10-9 of hearts, definitely want to raise, definitely want to start to build a pot. I make it 20 to go. We get called by one of the action players in middle position. He puts in the 20, and everyone else gets out of the way, surprisingly. The first heads-up pot we have seen at this table. And the flop comes down ace-9-6 rainbow, giving us a pair. I'm going to be checking here, especially on ace-high boards, and he just quickly checks back. So he doesn't give it any thought at all, so I don't think he's too strong in this spot. And we see the 10 peel off on the turn, giving us 2 pair. Definitely a disguised 2 pair as well. I go ahead and lead out for 25, and he snap calls the 25. Once again, I think if he were stronger, he would think a little bit longer here. He wouldn't just call that quickly. So I don't think he's got a strong hand, and I want to try to maybe induce him to make a mistake here on the river. So I end up betting out about 40% pot. I think I could have went a little bit smaller, maybe like 30% or 35% or something like that, but I went 40%, and he ends up tanking here for a while. And of course, I'm actually praying that he's going to be raising me here. That's what I'm trying to get accomplished, is for him to put in a raise and induce a bluff, or have him raise with a hand like an ace-x type hand. He starts counting out the $40, and I think he's just going to be putting in the call initially, but then he announces a raise, and he announces a small raise. He goes 90, which is just basically over a min click. And I start to think about if I could potentially re-raise here and get called by worse. I don't know if it's really a thing here to get called by worse. I mean, I think if we get called, we're probably going to be getting called by better 2 pairs. Or maybe an ace-x, I guess, is the only thing that he might call with here that we have beat. But eventually I just decide to settle on a call. I don't think too long about it. I put in the call, and he turns over 7-6 offsuit for a pair, and that's about it. So he called the $20 pre-flop with the good old 7-6 offsuit. Doesn't work out for him. It works out well for us this time, and we end up taking down a nice little pot here with our 10-9 suited. Let me know in the comments if you guys think I could be raising there when he makes it 90. I don't know. I mean, I don't think we're going to be getting called by too many weak ace-x hands. I think they might find a fold. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm curious to hear all of your feedback. Literally like 7 minutes after the last hand, I looked down at 2 red aces in the cutoff, and I'm still trying to take notes from the 10-9 suited hand, so I didn't start recording this right away, so I'm going to try to recount the action here pre-flop as best as I can. We saw the player in the hijack limp. I raised it up to 25. The button called 25. Our friend from the last hand, he min-clicks it to 50 from the small blind. The hijack cold calls, and I'm going to be putting in the 4-bet here, and I settle on a large size. I go $250. Couple of reasons for this. There's obviously more than one opponent in this hand, so going multi-way, I felt like I should size up here. And also, the player in the small blind has shown a propensity to get it in with almost any 2 cards, so I think he's going to be calling here quite often with any pair. He's going to be calling quite often with any type of suited Broadway or ace-x hand. So if he's got ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack, ace-10, king-queen, king-jack suited, I really feel like he's probably just going to go with it. So I felt like I could get a lot of value from a good chunk of the small blinds range. This bet size puts him really into the tank here, and he's really talking about why 250. He keeps asking me why 250. He's trying to get a read or something from me, and of course I'm just sitting there like a statue, as I should. But eventually he unfortunately decides to just fold. So we don't get any action here from the whale, and the hijack folds as well. We just take down the dead money here. I might have went a little too large with the 4-bet sizing in this hand. Let me know what you think about it. If I went too large multi-way here, I thought it made sense, and especially with the player type in the small blind. I do think this sizing ends up getting us paid in a later hand, so stay tuned for that. I think the table's starting to respect my raises. I think I'm starting to get some respect here from these loose players. We see ace-queen offsuit. We are in middle position here, and I end up raising it up, of course, even though it is the parking lot hand and gets it in trouble more often than it wins. I raise it up, I make it 20 to go, and everybody ends up folding, which, yeah, that's not something that's a thing at this table. So I was a little taken aback there when we got this one through, but we end up stealing the blinds with the old parking lot hand. This time we've got a medium pocket pair in the small blind. We look down at pocket nines. It ends up folding around to the player on the button who decides to raise it up. He makes it 20 to go. This player had been very active. He'd been getting involved in just about every pot, but he hadn't been raising a lot. So when he raises here, I was a little cautious and decided to just go ahead and put in the call. The big blind gets out of the way, and a player in middle position who limped puts in the call. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop here, out of position. Actually the worst position at the table in the small blind. The flop isn't too terrible for our hand, although, I don't know, there could be a lot of king-x in some of the middle position's limp call range and some of the buttons raising range. We see king-king-3 with 2 clubs. I start things off with a check. The limper checks and the button checks, so it actually ends up checking around here on the flop. So we see like the 6 of diamonds on the turn, which shouldn't really change anything. And I go ahead and check again, and now the limper decides to start putting on the aggression, and he bets for $25. The button, who originally raised, just puts in the $25 call, and I think I can be good here quite often, so I call as well. Unfortunately, the river card is not my favorite card. It is the ace of clubs, completing the front door flush, and now a lot of ace-x hands that might have been bluffing on the turn have a pair or a flush on. this river. So I check. Middle position player now bets 450. The original raiser folds, and I don't think I can call here, so I go ahead and get out of the way, and we end up losing this one. Once again, I was taking notes from the previous hand and started recording a little late here. We've got pocket aces again. This time we are in the hijack, and we see an early position raise to 15. I re-raise to 55. The button cold calls 55, and the original raiser in early position calls 55. So 3 ways to a flop. And the flop is fairly wet and dynamic. We see 9-6-5 with 2 spades. So we've got straight draws, we've got flush draws. So when the early position player checks, I think I definitely am going to continue here, and I'm going to go a little bit on the larger side, really wanting to charge any of those draws that I think are going to be more than likely to call here on the flop. I announce a raise of $80, and I go ahead and I fire out the bet, and of course I count it incorrectly, and the dealer corrects me. Very good dealer. And the button, he doesn't think too long at all, and just pretty much says I call. So he calls, and now it's back over to the original raiser, and she tanks for a bit after he announces his call, but folds. So we're going to go heads up now to the turn. And I'm just praying for something clean, something that doesn't connect with the board and doesn't bring out a spade. And we see the 6 of diamonds on the turn. Just pairs the board, and now we have 2 pair. The button just calls on the flop. I think he's got mostly 1 pair hands and flush draws. And I think the best response to that range is to just go ahead and get it all in. It's about a 1.8x overbet. I make it $542 to go, shoving it all in, and he goes into the tank right away. He then asks for a count, so I go ahead and slide out all of my chips so the dealer can go ahead and get a count. I think he's just delaying here, trying to think about what he wants to do. He's going to have a hard time folding any of his flush draws. He's going to have a hard time folding any of his 1-pair hands. I think even hands like 7s and 8s are going to feel compelled to call here. And he's definitely going to feel compelled to call with a hand like 10s or jacks or even queens if he decided to slow play that pre-flop, which is probably unlikely, but who knows with these players. So he goes into the tank. And when I say he goes into the tank, I can't even do voiceover for as long as he goes into the tank. So I'm going to let it run out, but we're going to speed it up a little bit here till we get to the good parts.
Just need 50 seconds. Just need 50 seconds. Let me think. Ace king.
After a good minute and a half, he just finally decides on a call. He puts his hand over his eyes and he says, I call. It's a hero call. We see the 10 of spades on the river, which is just a brutal card. And I say, I don't know if I'm good anymore. And he says, no, you're good. You're good. He's got pocket 4s. Pocket 4s. I couldn't believe it when I saw his hand. I mean, what a call. I guess he just squarely had me on ace king or ace queen. I don't know. But my God, what a call we got from pocket 4s. I never in a million years would have thought we would have gotten a call, an overbet call from a hand like pocket 4s in this situation, but we did. And he wants to be on the vlog after that. He's given me the peace signs and saying, put me on the vlog. So shout out to my opponent. I think you said your name was Carlo. Shout out to you, Carlo. Great playing with you. Thank you for the action. Crazy hand, but a lot of fun. Now everybody wants to get in the pot with me. I guess I'm action now because I look down at ace jack of hearts and we see a couple players limp in. And I go ahead and I raise it up. I make it 20 to go. Pretty standard here with a hand like ace jack suited. We end up seeing a call from a player directly to our left. We end up seeing a call from just basically everybody at the table. So apparently everybody's trying to get involved now. Our friend that we just played the last hand with calls. The button calls. Small blind gets out of there. Big blind calls. Both of the limpers put in the call. So we've got ourselves a bomb pot going on here. And I just completely whiff on this board. I mean, I just get nothing. Flop is like queen 9-4 with 2 clubs. Small blind checks, one of the limpers in early position checks, and now the player to my right just immediately jams all in, and nothing I can do here. I just got to get out of the way. I don't have any equity on this board, and I doubt ace high is any good. So I fold, and the player to my right immediately slides his cards over to me and wants me to look at what he's got. So I go ahead and grab him, and we've got top pair with a club. So apparently he feels like he's got the nuts, and yeah, he goes ahead and jams it all in, and that's going to get one caller. So it's going to get run out here, and let's see what happens. I'll go ahead and let the audio run.
Oh, you're really good, but if it's a treble.
No, trips.
But no. So
Second to last hand of the session, I've got ace-9 of hearts in the cutoff, and surprisingly, it ends up folding around to me, which is pretty unusual at this table. So I go ahead and put in the raise. I make it 20 to go. Small blind and big blind both decide to put in the call. So we've got our action player in the small blind. The big blind is a new player at the table, so not too sure what's going on with this player at this point. We see a flop of queen 6-5, also with 2 clubs on it. Once again, we end up whiffing on this board. In the small blind, the action player decides he wants to donk out on this board. He makes it 30 to go, and I don't have anything here. I don't have any equity, so I just go ahead and get out of the way. Last hand of the session, we've got 9-8 of diamonds under the gun. I go ahead and raise it up, and we end up getting called by our friend who is the action player, who now is repeatedly saying PanicPoker over and over and over again. Apparently he loves the name of the channel, so kind of funny. Everybody's getting a kick out of it, and the cutoff decides to call as well. Button gets out of the way, small blind gets out of the way, but the big blind decides to come along for the ride. So we're going to go 4 ways to a flop that ends up giving us a pair, and there isn't too much connection out there. It's 9-2-5 with 2 clubs. So we do have top pair on a board that probably is going to be best for us. So when the big blind checks, I think I should be firing out here, but I decide to check, and then it ends up checking around. Turn is the 7 of diamonds, and now the big blind decides to take the bet lead and fires out for 25. Now, I'd seen them play for the whole session. He sat down when they just opened the table, so he's capable of betting any pair here. He's capable of betting any draw, so I think we stand to have the best hand quite often. So I put in the call, and the player in the cutoff calls as well. So we're going to go 3 ways to a river, which is the ace of clubs. It's not a great card. Completes the front door flush, completes any ace-x hands that may have been firing out as a bluff, and now he decides to bet $50. And this puts me into the tank. I don't know if he's capable of bluffing here on this river. I don't know if maybe I should turn my hand into a bluff. Like, he might have a flush, but I could represent the flush here. That's kind of what's going through my mind, is can I represent the flush? But I still have a player behind me to act, so I don't know. She looks like she's ready to fold, so she's not interested. And I'm thinking about just calling here with my pair of 9s, thinking they might be good, but ultimately I decide against it. I don't know. I just don't think we're going to be good here often enough. So I end up making a little bit of a nitty fold here. Let me know what you guys think of this fold in the comments below. He ends up showing me ace deuce, so he ended up rivering 2 pair. So we ended up making the right fold and the right decision in that spot, but kind of a tough one.
He's got there.
All right, so we just cashed out about maybe 5 minutes ago, and session was really good. Great game. Actually started out to be a really great game, and then it kind of broke, and then we got a bunch of new players in, and it wasn't as good, which is why I cashed out. But starting off, it was really good. We played for about 4 hours, and we were in the game for 500. We ended up cashing out for $1,265 for a profit of, I don't know, $760, $765, something like that. About to get in the car here. But that is not the end of the vlog. So this would be like, I guess, I don't know, mid-session update or in-between session update, because I'm either going to play again tonight or I'm going to play tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, I'm definitely going to vlog that as well. So we are not done. We are not done. We're going to come back for more poker action. So stay tuned for that. I will see you guys in a little bit. just a little bit. All right, quick update. I know I said there would be more to this vlog, more hands, but I realized as I was doing the editing that I have enough footage for this episode. So the additional hands will appear in episode 47. So stay tuned for that. If you guys enjoyed this episode and you liked the hands, please do hit that like button. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. That's going to do it for episode 46. I will see you all in episode 47. Until then, good luck at the tables. Peace.